Welcome back here to the Black and Gold Banneret. Eric Lopez here and Bryson Turner. Joining us now, of course, she now is officially a four-time American Conference champion. She's been a three-time, soon-to-be four-time All-American. She's among the nation's leaders in kills and points, moving up the UCF record books. We speak of McKenna Melville joining us here. How you doing? That's good. I like your updated resume.
Thank you. It is a very good update to the resume. Over the past few days, doing a lot better. So it's nice to be single-handedly conference champions again this year. So really great.
Well, let's get into that because obviously Sunday was official. Houston lost, so you're now the outright champions. You clinched the share at home on Friday. What is this? How do you kind of comprehend those last 24 to 48 hours, clinching the share of the title at home so you're able to celebrate in front of the fans, and then finding out on Sunday that you've won it outright? 4 straight years now you've won a conference championship.
Yeah, it's really great. It's a little different because you never know exactly when or how you're going to win. So I think it's kind of funny. I woke up from a nap on Sunday to we're conference champions. And I was like, oh, nice. That's really great to see. So it's kind of funny that you're not actually the one playing in it. It's just kind of how the cards fold throughout the conference. But it's really nice that we did our part. We worked where we needed to. We performed when we needed to be able to clinch it on a day that we had off.
It's 4 conference championships. You've won them in so many different ways. You've won conference championships in dramatic fashions. You won regular seasons. I mean, does one feel different than the other? Do they rank the same? How do you compare these 4 conference championships?
Yeah, they're all obviously equally great because you're going to the NCAA tournament. I think the conference tournament style is a little more tense, a little more stress. You know what you're playing for, everything like that. So I like that kind of style a little bit more because that's a competitive nature in me. However, being able just to play every team and knowing we have to perform at that championship level every single game is a little bit different than, oh, we have to be in the top 4 in order to try and get to these games.
Speaking of performing at a championship level, you guys are going to be going up against Houston with the pressure of the conference championship now off your shoulders. Are you guys looking to maybe get a little bit of revenge, considering Houston's the source of that one in your loss column for conference play?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's my main goal. I think this weekend and this week coming up is really big to start getting our heads on the right path to win the to prepare for the NCAA tournament. I think it's really important now that we have the conference tournament under our belt. Let's see how far we can go. So to get everyone's minds on the right page, know that there's extra stress involved, put stressors on younger kids as they get into these tough situations. So when it happens in a few weeks, we know what to prepare for.
Tell me about how you all handle the expectations. You're coming in as 3-time defending champions. There's high expectations. You know, you're the favorites. You have a target on your back. And look, internally, you all have high expectations for yourselves. Just talk about the daily grind of that and winning the league again with all of that and the challenges that come with that.
Yeah, target keeps getting bigger. And I think we just keep accepting it, which is really awesome. But we do hold each other every day and practice to a high standard. I know there's times where we stop what we're doing and we say, okay, we need to get our heads on straight again, because what we're doing right now is not going to beat any team that we're playing in conference yet alone, the NCAA. So we have to get our minds straight and work towards that next goal. I think it's really important to keep working one step farther, one step more, not be complacent with where we're at. Yes, we're at the top of the AAC. However, what's the next goal? What's the next step? How individually are you going to make yourself better so your teammates can trust you?
Speaking of with conference championships, you among a couple of your teammates are the first UCF volleyball players to be a part of 4 straight conference championship teams since the five conference tournament stretch in the 90s. You, Amber Olsen, Anne-Marie Watson, Narissa Moravec, and Catherine Westlich. What has it been like to play with these women over the past 4 years and to see that success be able to be sustained throughout these 4 years?
Yeah, I think it's awesome because you have such a great bond, not only on the court, but outside the court as well, which brings your trust and your level of comfort playing with these players even more. I think you can always trust on these 5 players and it grows. I think your trust level grows and your confidence grows within each player as years progress. So I know like the freshmen come in and we might not trust them as much, but as they keep playing and as they keep going, they understand how they're going to play, and other people around naturally fall into what they're going to do and how they're going to react.
Tell me about this team, how it's different from the previous teams. Even though, I mean, from the outside, hey, I have a lot of players coming back. They're pretty similar, but every team's different. I'll never forget this year watching you all at Cincinnati, and you dropped the first 2 sets. And there was like no concern, no panic, at least from watching at all on the court. It's like, hey, we're fine. We're going to be good. And you came back, won 3 straight sets, which I thought was super impressive and kind of highlighted this team. Just tell me the differences you see in this team compared to the past teams.
Yeah, I think we're super even killed right now. Super level headed. We know where we're at. We know that we have to keep pushing. I think we have great leaders on the court right now, being able to say, hey, we're not going to ride the high wave and we're not going to ride the low wave. We're just going to stay even and keep pushing. I think that's really important. Like Cincinnati, we knew that we were off in the first 2 sets. I remember sitting down and I was like, okay, everybody knows I'm off right now. I said it to him. I was like, everyone knows I'm off. Hold me down, work your way through it. I'll get through it, but I need your guys' help. And I think being really honest with your team, especially the young girls, being honest, like, hey, I'm having an off day. It's okay to have an off day, but I need your other 5 people on the court to help me out. And I think that's important. I think we're working really well together. We can look each other in the eyes and be like, hey, you're fine because I got your back. You might not be playing great, but I'm going to help you out. So I think that's really important.
You know, one other reason that this season is different from the others is that this is the second season you've been playing this calendar year. This isn't even the first time the Banneret has talked to you this calendar year. So what has it been like to play this season directly after the spring season? And
it's actually pretty exhausting. I think you don't really have that spring season to kind of recruit, get your body strong again, get your mind right. So I think it's really important. I think we all know that our bodies are tired, which is another reason that brings us closer and keeps us pushing. Obviously, I think this is the first year in a while that we've had a normal type season with COVID and everything. So it's kind of fun to go out there and play. It's fun to have a normal season back, to go on the road, to travel. All those things are fun to be around again. And I think we're taking it not for granted and just keep pushing forward.
So what is it like now to have another shot, a 4th straight shot?
I think it's really cool. It's obviously a blessing, but we have some tough competition. We know we're going to have to go through. We know we're not going to get the top 16 seeds, so we're going to have to play one of those teams, hopefully, in order to advance. And we know that that's out there. So to be able to prepare every day and practice for it is something that we have to keep pushing for, and we have to keep growing in order to compete with these top 16 teams that we're going to have to go through.
You know, we talked in April. You had a great year in April. You mentioned it. It was unique. It was a shortened season. So you basically played, a season and a half, 2 seasons in a calendar year, which is unique. I mean, you're going to remember this forever. Yet you're a better player now, which is kind of crazy. Tell me about how are you a better player today than you were in April? Is it a mental thing, a technique thing, a physical thing? Take me through how you've gotten better since April.
Well, every day I push myself on the court, off the court. I think that's really important to have your mind right as well as your body. So just to be able, I know freshman year to senior year, how you're feeling yourself is really important. And I finally learned the right things to put in your body that's going to get you going. And I think that's important for every kid to learn. Everyone's different, but I found something that works for me to keep my body going straight. And then I think the biggest thing is that we just have more control this year on the court. Amber's running a 5-1, which keeps me and her on the court at all times, which is really big. Again, that core group, that core value, I think is holding true a little bit longer. And it's also, I have more pressure to do more because of that, those row 3, 4, and 5, where she's in the front row with me. So we have to hold it down a little bit better.
Let's talk about this group. Obviously you have the Amory Watsons, the Moravec. You've played with them forever. What's it like to play with them and share? I mean, you've all built a legacy here in a lot of ways. Bryson mentioned, the 90s was the last time the UCF Volleyball has won 4 straight conference championships. I've run into people that have told me they've gone to volleyball matches because of you and because of the team and the success and how fun you are to watch. Are you all aware of that, the legacies you're kind of making here? I know it's in the moment, so maybe you don't, but you've made an impact on and off the court.
Yeah, we don't try and look at necessarily the numbers and the points and the kills, blocks, all that stuff, but it's how we look to the outside world, I think, is really important. How you portray yourself and how you look to your teammates. I know we do really well and do a very good job of making sure that we are close as a team. I think teams get in struggle bus phase as they keep going throughout the season when there's more drama on the team than positive things. So we've been really good in the locker room this year, keeping a good positive note on things. And then also getting out into the community, saying hi to little kids. I think UCF Volleyball Camp is where we get to see and meet a lot of kids. And just to put a smile on kids' face, I think is really cool and really important in life. And I know like Narissa Moravik wants to be a teacher. Amory Watson's a coach. I want to be a teacher. So to go through things like that and have those 3 or 4 people being able to go out to the kids, I think is really cool.
You seem to really like making an impact in this Orlando community, but of course you are a Minnesota native. What has it been like to, it's such a contrast being from the far north coming down south. So what has it been like living in Orlando these past 4 years for you?
Yes, so I am definitely a homebody. So to go across country is a little different for me, but we figured out really quick. I know I talked with my mom at length about it. It's a 3-hour plane ride, and if there's a family in Orlando, you'll be okay. And I definitely do have that family atmosphere here, which is really cool. And that's the reason why I love Orlando so much. People around me are really awesome. And then I'm able to go out into the community the longer I'm staying here. People know me, I can talk with them and have good conversations. And I think that's really cool. That slowly you're building the network of the Orlando area.
So you're talking now that family atmosphere obviously had to, I imagine, had to develop over time. So what exactly made you decide to choose UCF in the first place? Did you consult with your mom about it? And if so, what were those conversations kind of like, and what ultimately made you decide to come here?
Yeah, so I was a sophomore, so I was very naive and didn't know a ton about school, didn't know what I liked. I still didn't know what I liked as a junior in college, so it took me a while. But I looked mostly, I wanted to go to a big school, I knew that, and I wanted to be able to make an impact. So I think those are the 2 big things that I found here at UCF is big school, and I was able to make an impact. I didn't know at the time I was going to be a hitter. I thought I was going to be a libero. But to be able to come in and have that family atmosphere is huge. Everyone here instantly said, Mac, you're going to be welcomed. Everything's going to be fine. We got your back. And I think that's super important. And I know Jordan Pingle did a great job my freshman year of holding me down, being like, this is how we do it here. So it's really cool to do that. And then now I'm able to do that with the younger girls because Jordan is no longer here.
Yeah, you talk about other younger girls. Chloe Shear, a sophomore, and Caitlin Grimes, a freshman, have both been playing at libero this season. And considering how much you seem to really like the position, have you been like kind of advising or helping them out with the position? And just what's it been like kind of mentoring these younger players?
Yeah, I think it's really fun. Obviously, I don't want to say too much because that's the coach's job, but I think it's fun to encourage them, fun to give them a little bit of hardness, push at them, poke them and prod them until they finally crack every once in a while. But I think it's fun to push them mentally, push them physically, ask them the why did you do it like that, or compliment them when they finally did do something really great. And I think that's super important, the compliment aspect as a leader, as somebody who's trying to grow into the position, help them, make them understand why they did it correctly is really cool. And then just make sure that they have confidence in themselves, show that you have confidence in them and that everything they do is not horrible. They're young, they might be dumb sometimes, but they're damn good volleyball players, so it all works out.
For those that may not be aware, your mom's a volleyball coach, a great, successful volleyball coach in Minnesota. So you grew up in this. And I'm wondering, you mentioned that as being part of being a leader, how much has helped you in you being a leader and talking to the players, knowing what the coach's perspective is, and obviously at the same time being a player? What I would imagine that's how they help you.
Yeah, it's definitely helped. Grew up with volleyball, grew up with coaches, grew up with the whole thing. So to be able to go into a conversation, it might be different if I go talk with Anne-Marie versus if I go and talk to Amber. Amber and I are okay with tough love. We can yell and scream at each other, whereas some people just might need a hug. And I think that's what makes a really good leader, makes a really good coach, is understanding how you're going to get your girls to play at the best of their ability. And that's what I'm trying to do as a leader, is how am I going to get Caitlin and Nar and anyone who's on the court to perform at the best when we need them. And I think they're doing a great job right now of performing at their best.
With your mom being a coach, you have Coach Dagenais in your life, and then you have Coach Mom. So as you've gone through college, what has it been like to kind of talk to your mom, like about your game, and how exactly you kind of, balance it? Because obviously you have your mom, and your mom's an important person in your life, but you also have your coach.
Yeah, so we've said from a very young age, she was my coach in high school, that when she's on the court with me, she's coach. And when she's off the court with me, she's mom. So for the past 4 years, she's been mom. So we haven't really talked a ton about game-like situations or how this is going, how that's going. She more talks about how you did or mom stuff. Oh, good game, honey. Nice job. Every once in a while, we'll talk in the volleyball talk. Oh shoot, did you see this play? Or we'll talk about rotations because she understands rotations, or why did somebody line up the way they did? Or Mac, you had line open all game and you didn't swing at it once. Like, what were you doing? Stuff like that. She'll give me crap for every once in a while, but her and I do really well of keeping things separate to make sure that the mom piece is still there, not just the coach piece.
Is that easy or hard for her? I mean, because she is a coach, right? And it's easy. It's only natural, right? If she throws an opinion, I mean, it's got to be hard to, I mean, obviously she knows being a mom's the most important thing, but she's a coach. Like, I'm sure a part of her insight's like, oh, what do you, I want to say this, but you got to say, no, don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Don't want to hear it, right? Is there, how much of that goes on?
Well, there's definitely times where like in the game, she's like, oh, I would have done this, and this different. But I think she does a really good job. She always says, but I'm not the one at practice. And I think at practice is where you figure out who you want to play, where you want to play, stuff like that. But it does give me another insight, a little bit more of the whys, and I love to know the whys. My coaches dread it because I'm always asking, why? Why are we doing this? Why? But I think it makes you into a tougher coach. I think my coaches have learned a little bit more about volleyball because of it, and I've learned a little bit more about coaching because of the whole atmosphere that I have.
So obviously, you've had your mom coach you before. And so, but now for the past 4 years, that has been going on. What's it been like now that it's been a while since you've been really coached by your mom? Like, what's really been kind of the difference, I guess, between when you being coached by your mom and not being coached by your mom?
It's so hard because high school volleyball is just so different. High school, you only have 3 months to coach and prepare and win, and that's it. And then they're gone. They're off to club. Whereas here we get 12 months of the year to prepare and understand. So I think that practices are completely different. I know my mom has a list of things that she needs to get done, and whenever they get through them, they can have a good day and off they go. Whereas here it's more like we need to get through these drills. We need to check to see how lineups work. We do a lot more of numbers and side out percentages and all this kind of stuff in practice, where I think in high school, you're dealt the hand, you're dealt what you got, and you got to work through it. You got to put your best players maybe in positions that they never used to play and stuff like that. So totally different. I don't even think they're comparable at times. But yeah.
So Anne-Marie, when we talked with Anne-Marie Watson, she said she picks volleyball up while in high school. Your mom coached high school volleyball, but did you pick up the sport earlier than that? Because obviously she's your mom, and so you're around the sport from a younger age than that, or did you also kind of pick it up in high school?
Yeah, I've been playing it my whole life. I think the first team I was on, I think I was in 3rd or 4th grade. We played at an Egan in-house team. And we played with a bunch of girls, and we played up to the 5th grade level, and then we played up to the 8th grade level. So we just kind of keep advancing, stuff like that. I thought it was really cool. We just picked up a whole bunch of athletes. My mom was actually our coach, which was really cool. And we got out there and just kept playing.
That's pretty tremendous. I want to bring this up because you recently made the old COSIDA academic team, and as tremendous as you're on the court, you're very proud of that. Like as long as I've gotten to know you, you take your academics very seriously. And I'm curious, because you're a competitive person, are you as competitive in a classroom than you are in a volleyball court? Like, are you just as mad at yourself if you don't ace an exam compared to like if you don't play, if you just play a set or something like that? Kind of give me the comparison of McKenna, the student, versus McKenna, the volleyball player there.
Yeah, definitely more of a competitive person on the court. But I do hold myself to a super high standard in the classroom. It's hard because you're only working with yourself. It's me versus the teacher. most of the time. So to be able to do well, I think is really hard. But I do hold myself to a high standard. I work hard. You have to study a lot. I think I'm in finance right now. So the last semesters are kind of hard. I'm in my last semester of finance. But I think it's really important to put school first, because at the end of the day, volleyball is going to go away. And what you're left with is either an education or not an education. And I think education is super important. My mom is a high school math teacher. She's ingrained it at such a young age of school comes first. It's school, sports, friends. That was the order that we were allowed to do things in growing up. So my brother and I would get at the kitchen table until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night doing schoolwork for high school even. So to be able to have the academic side, I think has always been a part of me. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Obviously now I want to be a teacher, so it's going absolutely nowhere. But I think education is important, and I'm going to ingrain it into every kid that I talk to, that education is important.
Well, I didn't realize your mom was a teacher as well.
Yes.
It's almost like you were prepared for the life of a student athlete, which is balancing academics with, playing a sport, which is not easy, and with the responsibility. But I feel like you almost grew up into it, kind of getting prepared for it. Is that accurate?
Yes. I mean, I've been given tough love my whole life. My dad and my mom both are tough love. Got to do it right, or you didn't do it well enough. And I think that's really cool. That's really important, to be pushed not only athletically, but also on the personal side of life, trying to get through your struggles. Things aren't just handed to you. You have to work through it. I think that's really important. You come to college and you don't know how to cook. You don't know how to do your laundry. You're going to struggle. And I think the struggle is really important, but I think being prepared so you're not struggling as much is really cool.
You've said how you wanted to be a teacher, and I don't know and obviously, coaches are kind of like teachers in a way. So I'm not sure if it's one of those sports and academic things, regardless of exactly the exact circumstances. How much did your mom's influence impact your ability, or your realization, like, I want to do this too?
Yeah. I actually didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I went the business route in college. I always joked about to my academic advisor, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a teacher. And she's like, no, Mac, it's too late. It's too late. Like, you got to finish finance now. You got to finish. And then COVID hit. So I was like, ooh, free another year. Nice. So now I'm actually going back into graduating in December. I'm going back into a master's program to get my teaching license. But what she does and how she works for it is super important, to show that you're always willing to work, I think is really cool. I think working towards something, always having a goal in place is very important. And I think what you learn in volleyball can easily be related to how you're going to work in a classroom with somebody as a teacher. So that's where I thrive. I love talking to people. I could talk to people for hours, but to get them to know the whys, to get them to know how they're going to succeed, to teach a kid and teach them how they want to be taught, I think is really cool. Not just here's the numbers on the board, you learn it yourself. Each person's going to learn a little bit differently. I think she does a great job in the classroom because of it, as well as on the court.
We're speaking with McKenna Melville here on the Black and Gold Banneret podcast. I'm curious, this summer, they had the Olympics volleyball. Jordan Thompson, who you know very well, legendary battles. My favorite, the best volleyball match I've ever seen in person was the 2019 conference championship when you beat Cincinnati in that classic 5-setter at home. That building was going crazy. It's one of my favorite events that I've ever been a part of there. I was fortunate to be there. That's what came to my mind when I saw Jordan Thompson representing the red, white, and blue, helping them win the gold. I know she got hurt during the event, so she didn't finish it, but she had a great tournament while she was hurt. I'm sure you followed the Olympics. What went through your mind when you saw her as part of Team USA there, as somebody that competed against her? Are you thinking to yourself, wow, that could be me maybe down the road 4-8 years from now? Or what goes through your mind when you see her and you see her in the Olympics?
I just think how proud I am. I know she's from Minnesota as well. She went to the same club I went to, but just how proud I am of her. I think it's really cool. It doesn't matter the school she went to, but she came out as a true college graduate and shined there. I think being surrounded by some of the great people and the great athletes that she's around, and she did against her and with her. But now that she got to take that next step, so it seems to me like that coaching style that Coach Karai has is working with her. The setting coaches that they have for her are really helping her out. She's getting swings that she didn't have swings against. She has so many more options, I think, now at USA Volleyball. I think she's going to thrive for so many more years. I think USA Volleyball is lucky that they found her, because I know for a time there she was just kind of hidden. So I'm glad she started to shine, and I'm glad she started to show who she really is. She's doing a great job.
By the way, I think you could be an analyst for volleyball too, as on the side. That was a pretty good breakdown.
You played every position, so you have that down.
Exactly.
Right.
It's a great point. You played every position growing up. You weren't, which we've talked about in the past. That's helped you kind of think the game, right? You've played the libero, a setter. And I want to ask it because defensively, I think it's underrated of your game. We focus on your kills and, all that. But your defense is good. You're one of the few handful of players that have had over 1,000 digs and 1,000 kills. You've been assigned at times this year to the opposing team's best player to mark him. Just talk about your defense, because I don't know if people really are aware what an all-around talent, great player you become on the defensive end and offensive. You're not just an offensive player.
Yeah, I think having all different options is really cool. I love the defensive side. I think in volleyball, at least for my game, I have two different roles. I have the offensive side where I can swing away and kill. And then once I go back to serve, it's okay, now I'm the defensive side. And I think it's really awesome to be able to separate it. I always rely on my defense. I always rely on my serve receive, because that's something that I've grown up doing. I've grown up passing. I've grown up digging, everything like that. And then to transition into the hitting game, I think is really cool, because now I'm able to see the game at another level. I know where that defender is going because I was a defender for so long. And then on the contrary to that, I am a hitter, so I know what's open, and I'm thinking, or I'm expecting, oh, this is where they should hit. Now, do they ever hit there? Probably not. And I'm wrong more than I'm right. But it does help that I have the height, because I know, like, our little ones, we call them our little ones, the three in the back row, Dreszy, Caitlin, and Chloe. They get back there and they have to use every inch of their body that they have, where if I misstep, I can still make it to a ball. So I think it's really cool. But again, you try and take what you know and you try and ingrain it in those little ones as well. But I think defense wins games, and I think defense is the biggest part of volleyball. And I don't think everyone recognizes that because of the big boom at the end with a good kill or a big block. They don't recognize, if you don't recognize a libero, she's doing a phenomenal job. If you never notice her, she's doing everything that she should be doing. And I think that's really big. A lot of people in the outside volleyball world don't understand that. But if little Caitlin is sitting back there digging balls left and right, you're not going to notice her as much as if she's shanking a ball left and right. So
that's pretty good. I'm very curious from this team's approach, because I remember I spoke to Jordan when you were a freshman, and she told me about you. She's like, keep her in mind, watch for her. She's going to be incredible. I'm curious of the young players on this team that haven't been through all 4 championships. Who are some of the players that stands out to you that you've kind of helped train and you think, hey, this is going to lead this program here down the road here in the future? Watch out for this name.
Yeah, I think Caitlin Grimes, she's going to be a little stud. She's got it going for her. And then I really think Heidi Bondi is going to shine. I think she's going to do great in this offseason to get cooking and rooking when we need her. And she's going to do really well next year on the outside for us. And I hope she's ready to work hard, because in spring I'm going to be her little wing woman. We're going to get after it together. So,
Dajane has said how he wanted to get her some reps at the libero position. She's been starting there for the past several games. How would you say she's been handling that, especially as a true freshman?
Yeah, she's doing great. I give props to both her and Chloe. Chloe had the libero spot and then switched out of it, and she's handled it perfectly. I know at times there's been some liberos in the past who, when they do get switched from it, crumble completely. And I think Chloe's done a great job of still holding her ground, still doing exactly what Chloe does best. And then Caitlin has just shined. She learned that she's comfortable. I remember the first game at ECU, she was all over the place. I was like, Caitlin, honey, you got to just sit down for me here. Like, you're running across the court. I always joke with her that she's going to have 1,000 more steps. We should put a step meter on her, see how many steps she has in game, because she's just going to blow us out of the water. But she's really calmed down. She's a great vocal leader on the court. Great little energizer over there, but she's holding down well. She's doing a great job.
I want to ask you, like, you're being compared to like the Tyra Harpers, the Renata Menchikovas, who I don't remember if you were at their Ring of Honor ceremony or not. I know they were honored. You probably weren't. That was probably before you were here. But they're on the rafters. You see them on the Ring of Honor. Their names are there. You see the names there. Jenny Frank is a Hall of Famer, etc. I know you don't focus on those things, but you have to have some pride there that you're being recognized with some of the greats in the history of this program. I mean, you're in that conversation there. How does that make you feel when that's what people are talking about you that way?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's definitely an honor, and it's really fun that I'm still playing and I can still keep working towards those goals. And I think it's also really cool that we get to bring more people in. I think it's not just the McKenna Melville, but it's how many people can I tack on with me and drag with. I think that's really cool. And I think that shows for the past 4 years for the conference tournament, it's, Jordan Pingle grabbed as many girls as she could and said, let's go, we're getting on the train. And I think that's really cool to have a leader now. Hopefully we can keep pushing, we can keep getting more and more on the train, but as many kids as we can get on that train to keep winning is a good sign.
You and Dagenais said before how, like, your plans are still up in the air for what you're going to do next. That's this. We've already addressed that. But regardless of what you do, I think it's not an exaggeration to say that you made a huge impact on this team these past 4 years. So how exactly would you like to be remembered by this team and by this by night nation as you move on to the next phase of your life, whenever that might happen?
I think to be recognized more than just volleyball. I think it's really, you have your kills, you got your game and everything like that, but how did she outsmart the game? How did she care for her teammates? How did she look to the stands and see other people? And then at camps, how do you work? I think helping others along the way, coaching little girls to love the game is so important, especially for this game. So just the love of volleyball, I think, is something to take away. It's something that I love doing. I love going to practice still every day. So I think that's super important.
Couple last things here. Obviously, you've had experience. You've been to the NCAA tournament before. You got 2 matches leading up to that. What are the keys and really for this team, the experience from the past? What do you take from that will help you this year for this team?
Yeah. Foot on the gas as hard as you can and don't ever slow down. That is the goal. That's my goal. Coaches don't always like my goal, but that is what we're going with. And I think it's really important. You can take a little breather, but other than that, push as hard as you can at all times. Practice, weights, class, games, doesn't matter. You better be pushing hard. So.
Have you, athletes have always told me this, pro and college athletes, about being in the zone where they can do no wrong. How often do you feel like you've been in the zone? Do you have a match and moment in particular where you're like, yeah, this day there was no wrong I could do. This was the zone. What is it like to be in the zone?
Oh yeah, it's fun. There's definitely times when you're in the zone and then you'll do some stupid error and then the zone's gone. But there are games, I would never say do no wrong. But I know when we played SMU this past time at home and Wichita at home, I think everyone was kind of in the zone. We were going to get this done and we were going to get it done as fast as possible. We did a great job. Again, defense wins games and defense started those games off. And then our offense just kind of clicked into place from there. And after that, everyone was in the zone. Everyone was pedal to the metal at that point.
Have you ever been a part of a 25-2 set like you were against Temple in that time? You talk about the zone. You all were in the zone that stretch.
Yeah, I think there was one game in high school. I think it was 25-1. But other than that, I have never been a part of something like that.
That's incredible. Very locked in and tremendous play. And it's been a joy to watch your team play. We're excited to see you moving forward. Congratulations on the success you've had to this point. And we're wishing you well here moving forward. You're amazing to watch. And I'm so excited for you because I think you're going to have more accolades coming up. And I know you don't like talking about it, but you've earned the accolades that's about to come to you. So we'll just leave it as that. McKenna Melville joining us here on the Black and Gold. Thank you so much for doing this and joining us. And take care of yourself, and we hope to do this again down the road.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, McKenna.